In this quick video, I wanted to run through the Division universe at a high-level view, showing where each addition to the franchise has been set within the overall timeline. Exact dates stopped being used relatively early on, and very little coming from official sources have referenced these initial dates. As a result, this has led to a small amount of speculation, particularly around what year the outbreak has occurred. However, for the purpose of this video, I'll be working with the officially released information we have until it finally stopped being given out. With the rest of the information, it will be based on the most likely scenario, given on how the events are playing out. From here, we'll see where the yet-to-be-released editions slot in, based on what we know so far. All Division media has been released on the following dates, with more still to be confirmed. I'll be running through each of them in this order, but as you'll soon see, this has very little to do with their actual place within the storyline. The original Division story begins on the 6th of January 2016, with the second wave of Division agents being activated by the President. The first wave was activated over 2 weeks prior, but have since gone MIA. Over time, we would learn of how everything started, with Gordon Amherst releasing the Dollar Flu in Abel's department store in New York City on Black Friday, the 27th of November, 2015. From here, dates start to get a little bit murky, but from the events happening in other media releases, it's likely that the storyline that plays out in the game leads us to somewhere around late February, early March. It is early December when April Kelleher witnesses her husband Bill's death in front of the Sequent Biotech Group in Manhattan. It has been a week since the virus was released, and authorities are still struggling with how to deal with it. April's pursuit of the truth has her following clues all over New York City, until eventually on January 7th, she learned of Warren Merchant's whereabouts in the northern side of the Dark Zone. In early May, the SHD network goes down, automatically recalling all Division agents to the nation's capital, Washington, D.C. As this story is still playing out, and no in-game dates have been given since its release, it's anyone's guess as to what the dates are currently in-game. However, the last dates that can be pinpointed is that sometime around June, the True Sons launched a chemical attack on the castle settlement, and in July, Division agents had recovered President Ellis's suitcase, with him disappearing shortly after, followed by the invasion of the Black Tusk. So given the current weather, it's likely that we're sitting somewhere between the end of July and September. In early February, Agent Aurelio Diaz travels from his home in DC to assist in the fight for New York City. Several months later, he leaves New York in pursuit of Ike Ronson, an agent who has left some civilians to die at the hands of a hostile faction. When he catches up to Ronson, who is now met up with April Kelleher in Ann Arbor, he soon discovers that Ronson has gone rogue and is working for the Black Tusk. An attack on the facility is inbound, but Diaz and April manage to escape. Parting ways, April makes it to DC in late May. In late March, Agent Dunn's partner is killed by a Black Tusk operative known only as Mantis. Dunn makes it his goal to hunt her down. On his way to Philadelphia, he meets and joins up with agents Heather Ward and Brian Johnson. In early May, they catch up with Mantis and manage to capture her. However, she is assassinated by a Black Tusk sniper before they are able to extract any information from her. At this stage, the SH network has been down for a little while now, and on their watches show the coordinates of Washington, D.C. They make the choice to head towards the signal, and by mid to late May, they are looking down across the capital. The Hearts on Fire audiobook actually starts around 16 months before the release of the virus, where Melanie Hoskins, an experienced firefighter paramedic, is being recruited by the Division. After eventually agreeing, she would undertake the 12-month training process, with the virus being released only 4 months after her completion. One of her first tasks is to deal with a new hostile group called the Cleaners, who are causing chaos throughout the city. It isn't overly clear as to where the end of the story takes place, but it's still very early on in the conflict, so I would place this somewhere around mid to late January. The story around this group of childhood friends, who have all taken their own paths over the years, spends half of its time talking about events that happened several decades beforehand. The overall span of the story seems relatively short and focuses on times where the Hyena Council is still well established. We also see Odessa Sawyer, who has already taken a step back from the division after losing her leg. My best guess would be to place the events of these few days somewhere between early April and late May. We have very little to go on with Thomas Parrott's Recruited novel. While it starts with Myra Kanhai trying to rejoin the US Navy just after the outbreak, the bulk of the story happens many months later, after the death of President Ellis. So the earliest estimate I can give would be sometime after July. Compromised is another novel from Parrott that continues the story of Recruited. As this isn't going to be released until December this year, it's tough to say what time period this will be covering. Nothing official has been released about Heartland at this point. While there's been a lot of leaked information, like I said earlier, I'll be trying to keep this to what has been released by Ubisoft or is played out in the story. Though what we can see so far, from the image alone, is the weather. So given that this is likely to be playing out in the US, and that there are leaves all over the ground, appearing like it's in the autumn months, it's looking to be based around September to November. Resurgence, another yet-to-be-released game. However, with this one, we've been given an indication of where this will span across the story. At this stage, we've been told that this will cover from the point of the first wave agents, all the way up to the events of the Division 2. Unfortunately, this is all we have for now. It's possible that Resurgence may even go further into the story timeline, beyond the Division 2. But for now, we'll just have to wait and see. So there it is. A high-level view on how each of the stories overlap in the Division universe timeline. I've had a live document of this running for a while now, as it helps me with research towards certain topics. I actually have a far more detailed version of this, which features all of the factions and characters within. But this document is an absolute mess, with lines and crossovers all over the place. I'd really like to release something on this, but I honestly have no idea where I'd start. I can barely read it myself these days. If you are unfamiliar with any of these specific stories, I've placed links throughout the video, but I'll also include them in the description. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers!